UFP, the United Federation of Podcasts.
Welcome, kiddies, to the wonderfully frightening podcast Franchise Fatigue on the United Federation of Podcasts Network. I am your host, The Creep, and joining me, as always, is my ever wonderful undead co-host, Zach Moore. How are you doing, Zach?
Thanks for the ride, lady.
Thanks for the ride, lady. Thanks for the ride, lady. Oh, man, just disgusting. I love it. Also joining us is the wonderfully talented Marcelo J. Pico. How are you doing, Marcelo?
Thank you. I do okay. I'm great. Glad to be back on here talking about Creepshow 2, one of my favorite movies of all time.
How?
Oh, you're saying how or how?
How. I'm saying how as in, like, Chief Woodenhead how. So I probably should have started with that. Excellent. Right on. Well, we've got a wonderful discussion for you tonight. We are continuing our discussion on the Creepshow trilogy of movies, and tonight we have Creepshow 2. Some people would say it's better than Creepshow. Some people would say that those people are mad. But we're going to have fun discussing it tonight no matter what. Zach, do you have some trivia for us?
I do. Creepshow 2 did not follow the same format as Creepshow 1, as we kind of joked about at the end of the last episode. It only had 3 short horror stories, plus its wraparound story, which was animated this time, animation. We'll talk about that. Originally, Creepshow 2 was supposed to have 5 stories written. One of them was The Cat from Hell, which was later used in another anthology film, Tales from the Dark Side, the movie. Mm-hmm. That's another one of these anthology shows, TV shows, movies. They all come together, so there you have it. Directed by John Harrison, by the way. So Khan's alter ego directed that. So just file that away. But the other story was originally intended to be in the film, was the Stephen King short story Pinfall, about ghostly rival bowling teams. So,
oh, wow.
That's what Pinfall, you get it? Because the pins, they fall?
I get it. I have never heard of this, though.
Very good. Marcel, you had some more information on this, didn't you?
Well, yes. I was saying off mic before we recorded, I had to go grab my collector's edition, the limited edition Arrow video release of Creepshow 2, which, as soon as they announced it, I was like, all my dreams have been fulfilled. This is the one thing I need to own in my life. Everything else I can burn. Because I love Creepshow 2. I love it. And what makes this limited edition, this version, is that it has a physical copy of Pinfall, the cut story, as a comic book, as an EC comic. So I don't know if you can hear it on mic. It's a nice thick little book and a nice little comic, and I love this so much, and I'm glad that it's in some form. It's in my hand.
So you enjoyed Pinfall, is what you're saying?
I did enjoy Pinfall, but I wouldn't say it needed to be in Creepshow 2, because Creepshow 2 is Creepshow 2. I mean,
well said.
Yeah.
So Stephen King, he wrote the outline for the movie, and then George A. Romero adapted it into a screenplay. And the second of these 3 segments, The Raft, is based off Stephen King's short story of the same name. And the other 2 segments are original stories for the movie. Now, by the time shooting began, they were already 10 days behind schedule due to unexpected rain in their Arizona location. So not a good way to start things off, being 10 days behind. And makeup artist Ed French was originally supposed to play the Creep, but when he left the project, Todd Savini stepped up in to play the role when he's covered it. He's the guy delivering the Creepshow magazines. Now, again, I would have preferred if it was Raul the skeleton from the first one instead of this. This was kind of like a leprechaun looking guy. What did you guys think of the Creep here?
I definitely would have preferred a skeleton.
I'm actually a fan of the Creep here,
of
Savini as the Creep. And yeah, the whole behind the scenes story is like, yeah, they had basically no money to work with. The director, Michael Gornick, is basically lamenting that fact in the commentary, saying, yeah, we had no money. That's why we only had 3 out of 5 stories. That's why we had to go like with these physical effects and not like the skeleton from the first movie. Mm-hmm. You know, the whole effects work. They're like, let's just put somebody in a mask and have that be the wraparound. Mm-hmm. I like it though. I think this may be. We talked about nostalgia in the last episode. This may be nostalgia on my part, but him in that mask still freaks me out. So I'm a fan of it.
Well, you mentioned Michael Gornick. Now he is not George A. Romero, so he did not return. He did not return to direct. But Michael Gornick, he is in the same Romero family. You know, he's been he's played a role in Day of the Dead and Dawn of the Dead and other Tales from the Dark Side, the other episode like that. So Stephen King's Golden Tales as well. So he's had a hand in all this behind the scenes stuff. So if you're gonna not have George Romero, he's a good guy to kind of fill in his shoes, I think. To carry on the legacy of what he established in the first one. So the kid who plays young Billy in live action at the beginning of the film, he had no lines, and it was Dominique Johns, the actor, that was his only role ever. Wow. So that's his claim to fame. Didn't even have any speaking lines, but this is the only time he was on camera, as far as anybody on IMDb knows. So maybe not.
Billy, though, that's the same kid from the last movie.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I was thinking it's this the same kid, right?
Yeah, it's got to be the same kid.
Like in universe, it's supposed to be the same. Yeah. He's killed his dad now. Now he's on to killing bullies. We'll get into that. So apparently Arnold Schwarzenegger was considered for the role of old Chief Woodenhead, which I find like that is some pie in the sky casting. If you're like Creepshow 2, you know, in the late 80s, Arnold's star is rising. I don't think Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to come be Chief Woodenhead. That's just my opinion. So I think that was wishful thinking on their part. Now, David Holbrook, who appeared in Chief Woodenhead that segment, he's the son of Hal Holbrook, who appeared in The Crate in the first film. He's one of the guys that robs the store, one of the criminals there. And then also when one of the other criminals they're going through the store, looking through things. One of them, he spins around a magazine rack, and you see several issues of Creepshow, which have the same cover as the graphic novel adaptation of the first movie, and that's by the artwork is by famed EC artist Jack Caban. So that is why these, both these, so far these films feel so authentic to the EC Comics, because Jack Caban did a lot of the art. Actually, was an artist for EC Comics.
Mm-hmm. Now with that Marcelo, I don't know that I'm not good with actors' names, so it's probably Hal Holbrook. Is that the guy's name you just said?
That's correct.
Yeah. So is that the guy that's in Mindhunter?
Oh.
The guy with the long hair.
The guy with the long hair.
He's one of the 2 FBI agents in Mindhunter.
Is he? Oh, yeah. Yes, he is. Oh, that's right. Yes.
He's also in Alien 3. He plays the guy with the teardrop.
Yes.
Tattoo
Yeah.
Alien 3.
Oh my gosh. I know it's something I had connected before, but for some reason I just forgot that fact today, and you just reminded me. Yes. I love that little connection. He is a great character actor, by the way. So I'm glad you pointed that out.
Hal Holbrook is in Mindhunter?
Yeah.
The Netflix show?
Yeah.
No, he's too old.
the guy, no, okay, maybe not Hal Holbrook then. The guy with the long hair. So that's why I said I'm bad with actors' names. So the whitewashed Aboriginal guy, the totally whitewashed Aboriginal guy with the long black hair.
His name's Holt McClany?
See, I don't know who I'm talking about. There you go.
Sam.
I'm bad with names, but anyways.
Sam Whitemoon. Yes.
Now Holt McClany. Yes, he's in this film. Yeah.
Yes.
I see where the confusion is. Yeah, he's also Holt McClany. He's also the thief at the beginning of Justice League that Batman beats up and hangs from a building. So
that's right. Yes.
Still playing a thief after all these years.
By the way, I'm also bad with names, but I knew exactly who you're talking about. Bishay. I was like, yes, that guy, the long-haired guy. Yes, he's not actually Native American.
No, that really threw me off. And I was looking, that can't be the same guy. But anyway.
But yes, he plays like a old, I think from Irish heritage, detective in Mindhunter. That's like his last big role. But yes, Holt McClany is the villain in that segment.
Now, if anyone was interested, what episode of what television show people were watching during the first segment of Old Chief Woodenhead, it's a Cisco Kid episode called Convict Story. That's the TV show on the TV during the events of that story. And now the second segment, as far as trivia goes, The Raft. Daniel Breer, who played Randy, he auditioned for Deke, but he didn't get it, so they cast him as the other guy. So, but also, he might have wished that he didn't get any of the roles because he almost died from hypothermia because the water was so cold. His body started turning green. The crew wanted him to continue acting, but Michael Gornick, director, he said if they get him to keep working, he will walk off the set and never return. So he drew a line in the sand, to protect his actors. So good for him. So they took him to the hospital, and he made a full recovery, and then he completed work on the raft. But damn,
Which one was that? Was that the one that quote unquote survived?
The one that quote unquote survived? Yes, Brandon. The last boy, as they say. So.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
So yeah, extreme.
Was that not the same place as Star Trek Season 3?
Paradise Syndrome?
Paradise Syndrome?
I mean, they probably filmed it in L.A. So,
I saw that, and I'm like, where's Miramani?
Yes. Also, there's some other Star Trek things we can talk about in that segment, but we'll get to it. Now, the Holworks University shirt is a reference to the original short story that The Raft is based on, and it appears in the Stephen King collection Skeleton Crew. In that story, the characters mentioned they are students there, and it has been referenced in other works, including the Crate segment from the original Creepshow and Stephen King's novel Christine. So part of that Stephen King universe that he's been building for decades and decades. And I love how these little connective tissues exist.
Yeah.
Now for the Hitchhiker, the last story, the main actress, this is just trivia for me, I found interesting. Lois Childs, she was born in Houston, Texas. So I'm from Houston, Texas. So we got fellow Marcelo, you're Texas, I'm in Texas. But down H-Town, you're up in A-Town.
I'm in Austin, yeah.
Does anyone call it A-Town? That has a negative connotation.
Hey, I'm an A person. We're an A-Town. Okay. Bunch of A-holes over here.
Exactly. So, now, at the beginning of The Hitchhiker, there are several Stephen King novels that are visible on the headboard of the bed. Mm-hmm. So I don't know which ones are which in free stream. It's not extreme, but there you go.
I noticed It was there.
Yeah. I mean, it's 1,000 pages, so it does stick out. So, and then Barbara Eden was originally cast as the hit-and-run driver in the last segment, but had to drop out prior to filming due to her mother falling ill. And then, of course, as we mentioned in our last podcast, Stephen King cameos again in this film as the truck driver. And, hey, it suits him well, I think. So there you go, Stephen King as the truck driver. And then finally, this film had a budget of $3.5 million. So to your point, Marcelo, they did slash the budget. And then it did end up making $14 million. So, it still did better than its budget.
Return.
I mean, almost tripled, actually more than tripled. Do some quick math here. Almost quintupled its budget. So there you have it. So maybe we'll get a Creepshow 3. We'll see. We'll stay tuned.
Well, one thing I forgot to bring up in Creepshow 1, Zach, when you were talking about the box office of Creepshow 1, apparently the way Romero puts it, Creepshow 1 wasn't enough of a success. Like, he blamed Warner Brothers for not advertising it as much as they should have, and that's a reason why Warner Brothers didn't want to do Creepshow 2. That's why Creepshow 2 is a New Worlds release. And that's why the budget was reduced. The director apparently was hassled on, location and effects work. So yeah, I was surprised by that. Apparently, Creepshow 1 wasn't as a big of a success as people thought, and that's why it wasn't a Warner Brothers release. Creepshow 2, I mean, the sequel.
Right. I did notice New World Pictures, which I know because of Godzilla 1985. That's the only other movie I've heard of that New World Pictures has been associated with. And because they own the rights, and really? Did they do that too? Part 4? Is that your favorite one?
No,
right?
Part 1.
Oh, Part 1. Very good. But because New World Pictures went bankrupt and there's all these rights issues, there has never been an American release of the American version of Godzilla 1985 with Raymond Burr, which they reshot scenes and all that. You can get the Japanese version of the Return of Godzilla. But thanks, New World Pictures. Anyway, enough Godzilla talk. Let's talk about Creepshow 2. Now, You guys were like,
Well,
"Oh, you
before